Welcome to Seniors on the Move. I'm your host, Marilyn Keegan. Today we have Bill O'Donnell from the Registry of Deeds. Bill, would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Marilyn. I appreciate it, and it's always good to be in Dedham. I'm actually from neighboring Norwood. I know there's always a rivalry between the Marauders and the Mustangs, but I grew up in Norwood. I went to Xaverian Brothers High School over in Westwood, and was fortunate enough to go down to school down in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University, and I had a great experience down in Washington, working 3 years in Congressman Moakley's office, Joe Moakley's office. So you learn a little bit about government, and I came back to Boston to go to Boston College Law School, and worked here in Dedham. Actually, I worked as an assistant district attorney for then District Attorney Bill Delahunt years ago, and
I remember him.
At Dedham District Court and the different courts around the county, and so it's great to be here. And I'm here as the Register of Deeds today to talk a little bit about an arm of government many people don't know about, which is the Registry of Deeds. But when you think about it, it's the biggest asset most of us have, our homes. And that's what the Registry of Deeds deals with. So I've been registered since 2002, and I'm glad you're having me here to talk about the registry.
And you have, how many children do you have?
I have 3 children. I have 3. One's out of college, and 2 are in college. Time goes by, people tell you that, and I miss the days of running around with the sports and everything and the activities they were involved in. But I have 3 children, married, and still living in Norwood. Grew up in Norwood, and I'm still there.
Your grandfather yet?
No. No.
Oh, okay. I'd like to talk about solar panels. A lot of people, especially seniors, are getting them, and they don't realize that they're bound for 20 years.
Well, what you really have to do is look at what you're signing. We've gotten involved in it at the Registry of Deeds because we've seen an uptick in what they call UCC filings. For instance, last month there was, of all the UCC filings, 87% dealt with solar energy. And it's been tracking for the last 6 months at about 80%. And what it means is when people, and everyone believes in alternative energy, solar energy, we're just cautioning people, make sure you read the documents, because a lot of the companies are putting a UCC filing, they're recording it at the registry, which in effect acts as a lien on your property. So you just want to make sure you get some advice, make sure you have thought about it, and make sure you read the documents, because we've been hearing stories, and that's one of the reasons we got involved and have kind of publicized it, is, people were, their closings were getting held up for different reasons. There was some cases where they were reviewing whoever was buying the property, and so it was causing some issues at closing. If people are aware of it, then that's fine. I mean, that's the American way. If you're aware of the contract and you know the details, and that's good. But I think in this particular issue, a lot of people, solar energy has a certain attraction. I think we all recognize we don't want to be dependent on fossil fuels, and we have to look at alternative energy sources. So we're not against that. But make sure you read the documents.
Yes, I mean, and they say, oh, well, they take care of the panels, they're on for nothing, it doesn't cost me anything, and I've got a lower energy bill and stuff. Well, that's all fine, but a lot of the salesmen don't show them if they put a lien on the house and they can't sell it, and they don't know that. So
they don't, because a UCC filing can just get recorded. It's just the solar company saying, hey, they have an interest, in their equipment that's on the house. But I think it's important for people to really examine the issue. If they have any questions, the Attorney General's office has been involved. If you go to the Attorney General's website, they have information relative to solar panels. And not every solar company records a UCC filing. In fact, a lot of people now come into the registry, and we've been doing a little search for them, and there's no UCC filing. So that's good. But other people have had some financial disputes or little disputes with the solar company, and then they find out there's an encumbrance on their property that kind of you know, it helps the solar company in the negotiating process. So just be aware of it. And it's just something I think people haven't thought about, but I really think it's a consumer issue like anything. A lot of times people just don't know about these issues. And as Register of Deeds, yes, it's an arm of government people don't know about, but we try to make it relevant to what's going on. And we've done the same thing with the homestead. You know, another issue people might not be aware of, but it's a consumer issue, and you know, we want to make sure the consumers out there, you know, have the best information and can do things that you know, help them and protect their homes.
And I also read that UCC doesn't require their signature.
Of the homeowner,
Yes.
yes. It's a document that's really protecting the interest of the company, the solar company in this case. So it's just something to be aware of.
If
And
it's something for nothing, you got to be really take all the.
well, it's funny, in talking to some of the people that have come into the registry, the consistent thing is I didn't read any of those. I didn't read anything. I was signing, and hey, that happens when you're buying your house. You know, people don't read through the 30-page mortgage there, but
No.
you know, there are legal consequences, and
Should
again,
have a lawyer in
there are
yeah.
legal consequences when you're involved with the solar company. So just, you know, you know, the product, it could be a good product for you. It could be the right decision. Just make sure you go in with your eyes open.
Yeah, well, like I said, a lot of them don't, and then they take advantage of them. A lot of them salesmen don't show them that part.
And you know, when we're talking about, you know, people taking advantage of people, you know, we've seen that, and we've tried to broadcast other things at the registry. For instance, there are a lot of scams out there. There's a group out there that for $15 they'll get you a homestead form. Now, that homestead form is available on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org. You can download that homestead form free. If you come by the registry, we have free forms, and around the various town halls, you know, they sometimes let us put our you know, information in there in some of the forms, and we do office hours. I know people in Dedham, you can come right down to Dedham, but we do office hours in 27 of the 28 communities. You know, not in Dedham. You know, we have the building at 649 High Street. If you want a homestead form, come down to the registry, or download the homestead form free, or contact our customer service department. Or if you don't live in Dedham, you know, check our website, because we do go around to the town halls and conduct office hours. Again, drawing on my experience working for Congressman Moakley, trying to, you know, bring your service to the people. So that's one. You know, when you mention scams, one scam: do not pay, you know, $15 for a blank form. Another scam that continues to happen around Norfolk County and across Massachusetts, there used to be, you know, in the old days, they would write a letter to you saying for $53, they will get you a certified copy of your deed, or up to $60, they'll get a certified copy of your deed. Now, if you come to the Registry of Deeds, at most it would cost $1 or $2. You know, most deeds are two pages. It would cost you $2. Don't, you know, so I used to tell people years ago, when that scam was going, at least that company would get you a certified copy of your deed. But why pay $60 when you can come to the Registry of Deeds, which, again, here in Dedham, down in downtown Dedham, across from Superior Court, which is the Gold Dome building. We're across the street at 649 High Street. You could come by and get a certified copy of your deed and not pay $60. And the reason I'm mentioning it is another company is now doing a little variation of that scam, is that they are sending out what looks like tax bills. They call it a document processing fee for $83. And they're really targeting the seniors. They're targeting first-time home buyers. And they send it out and it looks like a bill. And a lot of people are falling prey to this. They're you know, sending a check for $83, and maybe they'll get a copy. You know, that company doesn't even certify it. They just, you know, get a copy to you. But again, if it looks like a tax bill or it looks like a document processing fee of $83, read the fine print, because, you know, we have written to the past Attorney General, the new Attorney General. We've contacted the Secretary of State, and I recognize that maybe because they put stuff in small print, it's legal, but I still find it, you know, unethical. I find it's unconscionable that they're preying on people and really taking advantage of people, especially when you can come directly to the registry and get that same, a certified document for $2 or $3. And so don't fall scam to that.
I know, like they're saying they're the IRS and they're after the case number. I've gotten so many calls. I call back and it was a lawyer. So then I call back and I says, well, this is the police and do not call this number again.
Yeah,
they can lie.
But it's variations of different scams, whether the IRS, at the Registry of Deeds, we just try to highlight the ones that are kind of peculiar to real estate, whether it's deeds. And we've tried to anticipate. One of the programs that we've initiated, we were one of the first registries in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to do it. We have an opt-in consumer notification program, which you can sign up over our website. And I've actually done it for myself, and it does work, that you sign up. So if any property or any document comes across with your name, my name, William O'Donnell, I get an email. Now, sometimes it might be William F. O'Donnell. That's not me, it's William P. O'Donnell. But I get an email notice, and why are we doing this? Well, there are frauds going across the country, and the FBI says one of the biggest frauds is occurring in real estate. So I just feel eventually it's going to come this way. I've been registered since 2002. I haven't seen a fraud, the state police or anyone investigating a fraudulent deed conveyance. But we're doing this opt-in consumer notification program. It's simple as that you sign up, and if it's not going to prevent the fraud, but if you get an email notice and suddenly you say, wait a minute, that's a document that says my property was deeded to somebody else. I didn't sign that. You can't prevent the fraud, but we have links to the various law enforcement agencies, including the Dedham Police here in Dedham, but also the District Attorney's Office. You can get on it right away, to make sure that, a bad situation doesn't get worse.
Contact the police or your office?
Yes, we have contact information. And again, we haven't had any reports. We've had people sign up and no one has said, that they've been taken advantage of. But it helps. And I know it works because I'll get notices and it may not pertain to my property. But a couple of times it did. Our workers were working on old documents, old discharges, and I got an email notice. So anytime a document gets touched at that registry and it gets indexed or touched in any way, it sends an email out to you as the consumer, and then you can check on it. So some of the documents did pertain to me, but they were old discharges, which is another consumer issue people might be of note, especially a lot of seniors have paid off mortgages, and I'm very jealous. As I mentioned, I have 2 children in college. But whether you're a young person or a senior, if you've paid off your mortgage, you want to make sure your mortgage discharge gets recorded. So when you borrow money, the bank records a mortgage against your property, basically saying you've borrowed this amount of money. If you've paid that mortgage off, you want to make sure a mortgage discharge gets recorded. It's a 1 or 2 page document that tells the world that mortgage has been paid off. Now you have great community banks here in Dedham. If you could go down and say, hey, I paid that off 20 years ago, but I need a discharge. And the community banks are great. We have a lot of great community banks here in Norfolk County, and you have them here in Dedham. You'd go down and you get good service. They'd look it up and they'd get a discharge. And that discharge has to get recorded at the Registry of Deeds. But some of the banks, especially the bigger banks, have merged. Others have gone out of business. Mm-hmm. So we have on our website, again at www.norfolkdeeds.org, we have a document that is entitled, Where Has My Bank Gone?, which gives consumers, whether they're seniors or young people, links and contact information and telephone numbers to try to track down where your bank has gone, so that if you find yourself needing a discharge which tells the world that mortgage was paid off, you can take the steps to get that document.
Now, when you do the Homestead Act, don't you check all that? Or would you be able to tell then?
Well, anybody can go on our website and look up their information. And that was one of the things I'm most proud about. I've been involved in sports. There's no I in team. So, a lot of the things I talk about that have been done at the registry, it's because we have a good team down at the registry. But you can go online. We're trying to bring the registry's records into people's homes and businesses. If you go on our website, you could actually look up this information just as if you went down to the registry. As a matter of fact, we have 45 computers sprinkled around that registry building. They're not just for attorneys or title examiners or engineers. They're for the public. So you can come down and look up the information at our, at the registry here in Dedham, or that same information is available online. You can look up that information from your home or business. So you could actually look up and run your name. And if you went to Book 1, Page 1, the first document from 1793 is available. So we've gone to great lengths to get our documents and our indexes available. So you raised the question of the homestead. The registry.
A lot of people don't have a computer. A lot of seniors don't have
and the
computers.
registry doesn't, do a title search to put a homestead on. It's your right to put a homestead on, so you don't have to get a title search or have anyone do it.
Could you bring us up to date on what it is right now?
Sure. Well, a homestead is really a creature of the state legislature. Under Chapter 188, anyone that owns property here in Dedham or in Norfolk County or across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, if it's your principal residence, and you can put a homestead on. So if it's your property and it's your principal residence, you could put a homestead on. Well, what's a homestead? Well, a homestead, people have a right to declare a homestead. And what it, in essence, does is protect you in certain circumstances. Now, if you don't pay the town of Dedham its taxes, a homestead isn't going to protect that situation. If you don't pay the bank, they can foreclose through their rights under a mortgage. So the homestead doesn't protect that. But there are examples. Sometimes people get into credit card debt. Or the best example I can give is you could be driving a car and you might have $100,000 worth of insurance on your car and think that's a lot of money. And suddenly you hit somebody and that person has a $400,000 case against you. Well, the insurance company is going to pay the $100,000, but the person that's hurt is going to look to your assets to satisfy that judgment against you. So what the homestead does is sort of put a picket fence around the home. It prevents the forced sale of your home to satisfy, say, a case like that where you were in an accident and there was some type of judgment against you.
How much is it now?
Well, when I started, and as I mentioned, I became registered in 2002. I don't know where the time goes. It was $300,000.
Yeah, I know.
And then it got increased to $500,000. And there's been changes made in 2011, and you can thank your local legislators. You got Representative Paul McMurtry, you got Senator Michael Rush. A lot of changes were put in place. For instance, if you have a homestead act recorded at the registry, and again, it's effective as soon as you record it. And if you own the property with your spouse, under the new law, both of you have to sign it, and you can, and the filing fee, which is set by the state legislature, is relatively modest, $36. But it gives you certain other protections. For instance, just say you went to sell your house. If you had a homestead recorded, the proceeds from that sale are protected for a limited period of time. So creditors can't swoop in and go after that money. So for a limited period of time of 1 year, it protects the proceeds of the sale of your principal residence. Just say your house, you might have had it burnt down. If you had a homestead recorded, if the insurance company gave you a check to rebuild that house, the creditors can't come in and swoop in and take that money away from you if you have a homestead recorded. Again, it's a limited protection of 2 years in that case, where it protects, protects the proceeds from the insurance check. So there's a lot of good benefits to the homestead. It's also important, some of the other changes that were made in the homestead, it's been extended to trusts. There was case law in Massachusetts in the land court that said if your property was in trust, the trust owned the property, not the individual, and only individuals can put on homesteads. Again, thank you, state legislators. They addressed that law where they've expanded the homestead so that if the property's in trust, the trustee can declare a homestead, again, for the benefit of the beneficiaries, and they got to meet certain criteria, such as residing at the premises, that's their principal residence. So there's been a lot. There's been changes, but changes for the better for the consumer. They increased the protection. Another good thing the legislature did And again, as one register, Norfolk County is a pretty big registry. We're one of the biggest in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There are 21 registry districts across Massachusetts, and we meet as an association, and we bring up these issues to the state legislature.
Is it the oldest one? Goes back to 17?
I'd love to take credit, but my good friend and colleague, Register John Buckley, he has it right on his registry when you walk in, America's First Registry. That goes back, to the Plymouth County with the Pilgrims, and so. But Norfolk County was started in 1793.
I've read that.
Yeah, it was started in 1793. But as an association, we try to bring up these issues to the state legislature, and again, I got to thank the state representative Paul McMurtry and Senator Rush
I know both.
because another issue is we saw people's homesteads were getting voided or terminated. When people refinanced, I mentioned I have kids in college. I saw this personally, where you're refinancing and you're saying, "Hey, that sentence there terminates my homestead." Well, can you take it out? Because if I don't pay you, you can foreclose. Well, they have lawyers. The language is going to get taken out. So I just put another homestead back on. But a lot of consumers were having their homesteads terminated by a refinance, and they weren't even aware of it. So the state legislature put in language, that said, look, if that language is in there that terminates your homestead, it doesn't terminate your homestead. And that law went into effect on March 16th, 2011. So again, these are issues that I'm probably boring people out there, but it's important. It's your biggest asset you have is your home. So you want to make sure you take steps to protect it. And we're trying to make, as I said, an arm of government. I work for Congressman Moakley, so I've tried to, I know government does a lot of good. And, working as an assistant district attorney, I really believe in public service. But, much like people that are watching this show, I got involved locally. I was a town meeting member in Norwood and a planning board member. So you see what government does well, but you see what it could do a little better. But I was also in the private sector as an attorney. When you have bills to meet and, employees to pay and vendors to pay, I've tried to bring that background to the registry and run it like a business as well. So make it work for the people, but try to run it like a business, and hopefully we've been successful at it. I know what we've done with the internet has been great, and we'll continue to try to improve the registry and modernize it.
Yeah, you've done a lot since you've been there. Yeah.
Well, when I first got there was literally a year's worth of mail sitting in boxes waiting to be recorded, and some of that was a function of it was a very busy time, but the cornerstone of our modernization initiative was a new computer system, a new document management system that allowed us to begin to streamline the operation and to make the good employees there, give them the tools to succeed. I mean, now when you come and record it, it is like a business. You get a receipt. You get a receipt with the book and page number on the registry side, or a certificate of title number on the land court side, and you get what you paid as far as the monies and the fees. So again, we've tried to run it like a business, and we've tried to use the advances in technology. With the new scanning equipment, we scan all those documents in. So all those documents are available for viewing back to 1793.
To get back to solar panels, if they buy them outright, they say that's a more advantage to do that. But can they, the energy company, stop the new owner taking over?
You got to look at the whatever contract they sign. I'm sure that that's what I take out of it. I mean, each case is different. I think you got to read the documents before you sign them and see what rights you have as the consumer, what rights are you giving away, and what rights is the solar company getting because you're signing these documents.
So really, to be safe, they should have a lawyer involved when...
Well, you should always get advice. And I know when I have plumbing problems, I hate paying a plumber, but you know what? I'm paying a plumber because, you need to get the job done right.
You save
in the end, you know, it is the biggest asset you have is your home, and you know, you have attorneys here locally. Also, the Norfolk County Bar Association is a resource. So, you know, it's probably good advice to protect the biggest asset you have is to get some advice, you know, and go from there.
You have a lot of historical deeds there too. That I've read that. Let's see, you got registry was found in 1793. You're in the process of modernizing handwritten deeds, 250,000 to be exact.
Yes, that's been, you know, it's you know, I like trying to change things up, and the modernization initiatives, you know, our principal focus was to make it run better. You know, for instance, you know, getting it online. Having electronic recording. Now, if we even have attorneys in Dedham that are recording documents electronically, but you know, when I first implemented it, and again, we were one of the first registries to do electronic recording in Massachusetts. I was thinking of, say, attorneys out in Bellingham or Franklin. They can do the closing, check online, make sure there's no liens, and they transmit the whole documents that need to be recorded to the registry. But because of the efficiencies, we see even local attorneys in Dedham have accounts doing that. So we've tried to do modernization initiatives that have tried to make the operation better and run it like a business. But what you speak of has been a fun project. There's a lot of history here in Norfolk County.
Yes.
4 presidents were born here in Norfolk County. You know, John Adams, John Quincy Adams, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and George Bush Sr. was born in Milton. So we had 4 presidents born here. And when you look at it from 1793 to 1900, what would happen is when you came to record a document, the person with the best penmanship, the scrivener, would write out the documents. Well, we have them all up online. As I mentioned earlier, if you enter Book 1, Page 1, you can look at that handwritten documents. But what I took from it is it was hard to read the handwritten documents. Actually, viewing it on the internet, it makes it easier, because we have a lot of people that want to do genealogical and historical research. And when you view it online, you can zoom in and out. You know, when you're reading it in the books, it's kind of difficult, but you can zoom in and out. But one of the projects that we're doing now is a historical transcription project. We started with the deeds. You mentioned we've done over 250,000 deeds. I figured, well, that's what people really are interested in, deeds. And what we've done is, go back to Book 1, Page 1, if you hit the View button, you can view the handwritten document. But if you hit the T button, which is there, the transcribed or typewritten version of that handwritten document comes out. And I did it because it was hard to make, you know, the documents, you know, readable. It was hard to read. So yes, I think it helps the title examiners and the lawyers that are doing title search. But we're seeing there's a rich history here in Norfolk County. And I don't know how you make that rich history come alive if you can't read the documents. So
the penmanship was different back then.
Well, and what they did is maybe the ink and the paper was expensive. They really, you know, jammed a lot of information in on these pages. And again, some of the penmanship was difficult to read. And when you mention history, we have a deed to Paul Revere in Canton.
Yeah.
We have deeds. You know, John Adams was the 2nd president of the United States. John Adams and his wife Abigail Adams, who's a historical figure in her own right, deeded property to their son, John Quincy Adams, who was the 6th president of the United States. There's information when you read through the documents. John Adams donated some land to Quincy, you know, that had John Hancock's dad's house involved, and you know, he wrote about what a great patriot and all the contributions John Hancock had. So within these documents, there's some interesting information, some historical information, and what we're doing is transcribing them. So we've completed the deeds, and now we're working on. I said, well, if we don't do it, no one else will. So we're trying to get all the documents transcribed from 1793 to 1900. And the reason why we stop in 1900, Register Burdekin was the register, a resident of Dedham. You know, his modernization initiative was the typewriter. And that's when they started typing the documents out. And of course, you can read those documents a little easier. But from 1793 to 1900, they were all handwritten. And we are transcribing those handwritten documents. We've gotten good reviews. A lot of people, especially people who are interested in history, interested in genealogy, are really complimenting us on it. And again, we're the first registry in Massachusetts, and we've been told first, regionally and nationwide to actually transcribe the documents. Who knows? But I did it because I thought it just makes the documents more relevant. But I mentioned I have 3 children. My youngest graduated from Norwood High School last year, and what I noticed with his friends, and I went to St. Catherine's School in Dedham, so Norwood, St. Catherine's in Norwood. You knew penmanship, the Palmer method.
Yes, they don't have that. They can't read and write anymore.
And a lot of them don't know cursive.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe 40 years from now, someone will say, "Hey, that Register O'Donnell, that was a good thing he did because no one knows how to read penmanship anymore." So because everyone's on the texting and the computers and penmanship, a lot of people can't read penmanship anymore. So. Who knows, maybe in a few generations, people won't be able to read these documents there. And I hope they look back and say, wow, there was some foresight given, they were creative and they were smart about, doing this. And I think it's been a fun project historically, but I think there'll be a functionality down the line where people will say, wow, we wouldn't have been able to read these documents if they weren't typed out back, when we did it in my tenure here as Register.
And it's a good way of preserving them.
Yes,
The paper and
well, it's just so hard to read, and there's a lot of information in there. I mean, a lot of information about what was in a house back in 1793, and we have so many interesting deeds. Horace Mann, one of the founders of public education. We have a deed. He bought a house, bought land in Franklin. It was a Dr. Spooner in Brookline. His estate eventually became the first private golf course, the country club. So there's a lot of interesting reading there. And again, our principal mission is the real estate. That's our principal mission. And I think we are helping the attorneys by making the documents more readable. So, but it's been good to see how in focusing on our principal mission, it's got other groups very interested in the history of Norfolk County and what's there in the documents.
Did you ever think of writing a book about the registry?
Well, it would be kind of interesting. We've tried to do it in little ways. For instance, when I got to thank the historical societies and the commissions. When you go by our building, I think we've done a nice job trying to fix up the building there and make it look good from the outside, so the town of Dedham can be proud of it. But inside. People remember when it was crazy there with the probate court and the registry. Well, the probate court left, we grabbed the space and tried to improve on it. And the historical societies and commissions, I asked them to send us a picture. And we blew up pictures from each of the towns. For instance, Dedham sent a picture of the Fairbanks houses. So the Fairbanks house. So we have historical pictures sent to us by the historical societies and historical commissions in Norfolk County. And we've blown them up. And they were around the registry, especially where the closings take place. So maybe I will, because I do like history. And when I was there, it was room A or B.
Did you get copies of those for me?
Well, we have a book on it, and you could go online and actually look at them. But there's some great pictures from Brookline, beautiful, on Beacon Street. Canton sent us one on the viaduct on the Ponce Street with a train going over it. Oh. In Norwood, we have one on Washington Street from like 1928, where they have the trolley track. So there's a lot of great history there. And what I was saying is I do like the history. The closing rooms, the rooms that we do closings in were closing room A, B. Well, now we name them after the registers. You know, I'm the 11th register, and a lot of them were from Dedham. You know, the Burtikins. Actually, just about every register was from Dedham. Until Barry Hannon from Braintree, and then Paul Harold succeeded Barry, and then myself, you know, but there's a lot of them. The Fords, there were 3 Fords, all from Dedham, F-O-O-R-D, father, son, grandson, all were registers. Mr. Burtikin, who I mentioned earlier, he was registered, he passed away, his brother became register, again from Dedham, and the first register was Captain Elephant Pond, who was a resident. He fought in the Revolutionary War, and he was a resident of Dedham. So a lot of the registers, Mr. Shine was a resident of Dedham, Mr. Chambers, you know, Dedham. Dedham was the place. But it's all right to have a Norwood guy there, so I don't want to give those Dedham people any ideas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing a good job anyway.
Yeah, thanks. And
Would you
again,
like
it's
to
good.
give some of those phone
Sure.
numbers out?
If first of all, we're located at 649 High Street, across from the Gold Dome Superior Court at the Registry Building. You can come by the Registry. One of the things I'm very proud of, we started a customer service center. They never had a customer service center. And a lot of the reasons why, my dad climbed poles for the Boston Edison for 38 years and said, hey, you're doing all this modernization computer work. Remember, a lot of us don't know anything about computers, don't care to know anything about computers. So we do, you know, that's how we started the customer service center. We have a place you can go and ask questions, get copies of documents, so you can come by the registry, go to the customer service center and get that information, or you can call them directly at 781-461-6101, or go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. And I know you might want to look up information. You can go online. But we have other information. We have notifications. For instance, we open the registry up for people who want to learn how to go on the computers. We teach them. They come in at 4:30 after the registry closes. But there's other good information that we put on the website, whether you're a first-time buyer, or if you're struggling with foreclosure. We've partnered up with NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts and the Quincy Community Action Program, where you know, we have links to their websites and information. So if you know someone, everyone has struggled with foreclosure. Every community in Norfolk County has had a foreclosure. You can get good information. So you can go on our website and get information, whether you're a first-time home buyer or whether you know someone that's struggling with foreclosures. You can get some help. So, you know, I appreciate you letting us, you know, broadcast the websites and the telephone numbers to call if they need anything.
So people that have solar or are interested in solar, they should contact the Attorney General or the FCC?
And we've had people contact us. As I mentioned, we do office hours. I've had people from Dedham who are walking by. They come in, and a lot of them are just curious, is there a UCC filing on their property? That, you know, for that, they can either look it up themselves or come by and, you know, we can help them out and say, no, there's no UCC filing. But the Attorney General's office on their website has a lot of a lot of information that would be of use to your viewers and consumers. Ones that don't have a
computer, they can contact.
Oh, they could, you know, I'm sure contact the Attorney General's office directly if they have questions about, you know, documentation and things like that. And I know people who don't have computers have come by the registry, just because, as I said, not every company files a UCC filing. So, you know, some people who do have solar panels don't have UCC filing. So, you know, so at least there's no encumbrance on their property, but they still have obligations that they signed for, you know. But
is it for 20 years? Or?
You'd have to look at the document. You got to look at what you're signing. You know, you know what the period is, and it's great if you're, you know, 22 years old buying the house and you're there 20 years. You know, no one ever thinks they're going to need to sell it or maybe refinance. You know, so these are the things you want to just be aware of.
You said, but with that, you can't get a reverse mortgage or a home equity.
Well, it's an encumbrance. You know, it's an encumbrance that needs to be dealt with. You know, so if I go to refinance, you know, the bank that's giving me money to refinance, it's going to come up. If there's a UCC filing, it's going to come up as a title issue, much like if I was going to refinance, the attorney that was doing the closing would say, well, wait a minute, you have a mortgage with bank number one, we got to make sure that gets paid off. Well, the UCC filing serves as an encumbrance, so it's something that has to be reckoned with. And that's, you know, when you go to sell property or refinance, or if you're considering a reverse mortgage, it's something that the entity that is either buying your property or loaning you money is going to, you know, want addressed or have some resolution on.
And also, if people, like, if they want to get the Homestead Act, they have to have a clear title, and they may not. They may have their deceased, you know, wife or husband on it that passed away, so you have to.
Well, anybody, a homestead should just be put on. You know, there's no requirement of title searches or anything like that. The only thing that's required to put a homestead is to look up and see the deed to your property, and you just reference that information. Now, you're right that sometimes when people pass away, you know, when the time comes for you to sell that property or refinance, you know, a lot of times you got to take steps, record death certificates, because, you know, you don't rewrite a new deed. They just want to know what happened to the people whose names are on these deeds. But that doesn't prevent you from filing a homestead. In fact, I would urge everyone, you don't have to do a title search. You know, you just, you know, if you own the property, and you know, people, you know, our customer service department, or come by when we're out in office hours, or sometimes we're speaking at senior centers, we can look up and give you a copy of your deed, and it has the information, the recording information on it. That's all you need, is to put the title reference to the property and have it signed in front of a notary. So if I own a property with my spouse, both my spouse and I sign that document, and we get the homestead protection. And you don't have to clean up, you know, mortgages or anything like that. You know, I mean, if you've borrowed money, you don't have to pay it off to put a homestead on. It's not mutually exclusive like that. You know,
No.
you have a right to put a homestead on. You could borrow money and have a valid mortgage and then put a homestead on after that. So nothing prevents you from putting a homestead on, as long as it's your principal residence. The good news is, if you haven't taken that step, again, thank you, state legislators, for the first time in Massachusetts history, they have an automatic homestead, which is worth $125,000, and it gets a portion depending on how many people own the property. But to my way of thinking, for a filing fee of $36 set by the state legislature, I'd rather have the $500,000 worth of protection. I'd rather protect my house to the best extent I can.
Right, yeah.
So.
And what are your hours?
Well, we're there 8 to 5. Our recording desk is 9 to 4. So if you're coming by to record a mortgage, discharge, or come by with a homestead, the recording hours are 9 to 4. And the beauty of the internet, we have people there working on the internet till midnight or 1 o'clock. You know, you have the ability to access our records 24/7. But those are our hours if you physically want to come by the building, as I said, whether to look up the books. And I should mention, we're one of the few registries, I mentioned there's 21 registries, we're one of the few that still print books. I'm still going to continue to print books. When I first started, I was at book 17,000. We're at book 34,000 now. So during my tenure, there's been over 17,000 books printed. Again, a reflection, it was pretty busy economic times, and also, you know, as my dad says, it was 3 pages of documents, and now the closings, you know, you have mortgages that are 30 pages. But you can come by the registry and look up this information the old-fashioned way on the books too. We still print the books and do it the old-fashioned way.
All right. Let me see. Check. Oh, the Attorney General. Yeah, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, no.
Is there anything else?
No, I really appreciate the time, and I hope the information has been, you know, of use to your viewers. And you know, when you think about it, as I said earlier, the biggest asset we have are our homes, and I just try to, you know, appreciate the opportunity to come and speak because, you know, a lot of these issues, whether it's putting a homestead on or making sure that not only is your mortgage paid, but that the mortgage discharge tells the world that it's been paid, or signing up for our consumer notification program. There's a lot of things out there that we're trying to make the registry of deeds, you know, relevant to people, and it's their biggest assets, their home. So if we can do some little steps to give people information and let them make the decisions on how best to protect their homes, this is the way to do it on shows like yours, Marilyn. So
it's too bad this day and age, but there's so many people out scamming people and taking advantage of people. So really, you have to investigate whatever you get involved in.
Yes, and we mentioned some of those scams earlier. So it's unfortunate, and that's why I'll put another plug in for that consumer notification program we have. It's not going to prevent the fraud, but when you get that email and you see that, wait a minute, this actually does affect my property, you can get on it right away. You know, you can get notified right away, and you can start involving attorneys and law enforcement to make sure that nothing bad happens to your property. So.
Well, thank you, Bill.
Well, Marilyn, thanks very much. Thank you.
It's well, I hope people are more informed now. If you're not, you know, ignorance is not bliss.
No, not at all. But thanks for the opportunity, and you do a service not only to, you know, the seniors, but I'm sure, you know, anyone that watches, and maybe if the seniors are watching, tell your grandchildren, tell your children, because, you know, they're the ones probably out working, you know, working a couple of jobs, but they're the ones that have an interest as well to protect their property. Probably more so, you know, I mentioned the plumber, the local plumber that's out trying to pay the bills. You know, you know, if he gets sued, if he's not incorporated, you know, you want to protect your house. So. I think if people could just spread the word to everybody. If you own property, and again, the homestead we mentioned, it's not just you know, elderly or seniors.
No.
Anyone, there's no age. If you're fortunate enough at 18 years old to be owning a piece of property and it's your principal residence, you can put a homestead on. So spread the word to everybody, because
it's worth it. Yes.
It would be.
Well, thank you for watching Seniors on the Move, and stay healthy. Until we meet again, bye.